Now, before we get into some of the main features of the iPhone, what I first recommend, or what I like to show people, is how they can change the display size or the display text to make the phone easier to read. There are several options that we can make the readability of our iPhone a little bit easier on our eyes, especially with iOS 16. They added a lot more transparency. So what you may want to do is you may want to reduce that. That's what we're going to be looking at in this video, how we can make our iPhone easier to read. Now, if you find this video helpful, stick around to the end. I'll tell you a little bit more about myself and how you can help support my efforts in creating these videos. All right, let's take a look at how we can make our iPhone a little bit easier to read. Let's go over to my iPhone. Now, basically, we can do this through two different areas, and they're both located in the Settings app. So let's first look at the general settings, where we can easily set up various settings to make our iPhone easier to read. I tap on Settings, and then from here, what we do is we go over to Display and Brightness. We have a number of different settings in here that can help us make our iPhone easier to read. So I tap on it. The first thing is we can change the appearance. During the day, what it's going to do, by default, your iPhone is going to be in light mode. This is what we call light mode. And then in the evening, what we can do is we can put it into dark mode. I'm going to tap on it, and you're going to see that everything goes dark. For some people, this makes things easier to read. So what you may want to do is make this dark mode on your iPhone permanent, so it's on there day and night. The way that you would do that is you make sure that automatic here is turned off. If you turn on automatic, it's going to go in light mode during the day, dark mode at night. If you want dark mode on all the time, just make sure that automatic is turned off. I'm going to go back over to light mode because that's what my videos are recorded in. All right, the next thing that we have here is text size. What we're able to do is change the text size of the text in various apps. So I tap on it, and you're going to see a slider down here in the bottom. I just slide this to the left and right. And what you're going to see up towards the top here is this text. And when I take that slider down here and I slide it to the left and right, that text at the top is going to change. So you can actually see how large that text is going to be. So I'm just taking that slider and moving it to the right. Makes the text larger, and now it's smaller. Now, this supports any app that uses dynamic type. This is a feature that Apple introduced several years ago. So most of your newer apps will support this. But if you have an older app where the developer didn't include dynamic type in there, you will not be able to change the size through the slider, just so you know. But most of the newer apps do support this. All right, so that's how we can change the text size. Another thing we can do is we can make our text bold. When I tap on the slider here, watch what happens. The text gets bold. It's just a subtle change, but it does make it a little bit easier to read. And then down at the bottom, we have display zoom. This can change the resolution of the iPhone. So when I tap on this, you're going to see that I have larger text, so everything's a little bit larger. Or what I can do is I can make it default. You can see that mine's already in the larger text. By default, of course, it's going to be on the default setting. So everything's going to be a little bit smaller. So if you're having a hard time reading your iPhone, this is actually the first thing that I recommend because it will change the spacing. It'll make your icons a little bit larger. It does a lot more than just making your text larger. So all you have to do is just tap on larger text, and when you tap on done in the upper right-hand corner, it's going to do a soft reboot, and then everything will be slightly larger. All right, so that's how we can view that through our display and brightness, but we do have a few more settings, and that's under accessibility. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back. I tap on the button to go back. And then from here, we go over here to accessibility. When I tap on accessibility, I go to display and text size. You're going to see we have some of the same options here. I tap on it. First thing I can do is I can make the text bold. I can also make the text larger. Basically does the same thing that I showed you earlier. And then we have button shapes. Now this has changed a little bit with iOS 26. Basically what Apple did is add buttons with iOS 26. So what I have found is this doesn't make as much of a change as it does on earlier versions of iOS. Basically, if you have iOS 18 or earlier, instead of this little button here, it's just going to say back. So then what it would do is it would actually underline that and make it more like a button. Well, you can see that it is actually a button. So now a lot of the text that Apple had there, what they're doing is they're replacing it with buttons. You'll see check marks for done, things like that. So this button shapes doesn't do as much as it used to, but it can still be useful. Another option we have here is reduce transparency. What we're able to do is reduce the transparency on our iPhone. Now this could come in handy with iOS 26. Apple added a lot of transparency. So if you want to reduce that transparency and make things a little bit easier to read, all you have to do is just turn that slider on and it'll reduce the transparency. So that's how we can reduce the transparency. Another thing we can do is increase the contrast. So this will make the darks a little bit darker, the lights a little bit lighter as an example. So it doesn't reduce the transparency, but it makes things have a little bit more contrast, a little easier to see. Now what I recommend doing is just toying around with some of these settings. You might not like reduced transparency, but you like increased contrast, or vice versa. Or maybe you like the bold text, but you don't need the text to be larger. So you can play around with a lot of these to see what works best for you, to see what makes the iPhone easier to read. The first thing that I always recommend, though, is going back over to our display and brightness and changing the resolution. Going over here to display zoom and setting it for larger text if you can. In the past, not all iPhones supported this, so you might not see this. But that's the first thing I recommend. And then go back and tweak some of the other settings. So those are some ways that we can make our iPhone easier to read. We can adjust the contrast, adjust the transparency, make the text larger. We can even change the resolution. And this is all done within the Settings app. We have display and brightness, and then we also have accessibility. So that's how we can make our iPhone easier to read. Now, if you found this video helpful, what you may want to do is like the video. You can subscribe to my channel. You can share it with your friends and family. But I do have a couple of other options if you want to help support this channel or help support me in making these videos. First thing is I have a website called Dan's Tutorials, and this is a membership-based website. It's a subscription website. It has all of the videos on there and more. You get an AI assistant modeled after an Apple Genius, and you get access to my classes and webinars on a regular basis, or that I host on a regular basis. Like I said, this is a membership-based site. What I'll do for you is I'll take out all of the ads from the videos. You have access to that AI assistant, things like that. Now, if you don't like a subscription and you just want to have a course, I also have Dan's online courses where I have various courses. I just have it started out right now with the iPhone course, but I'm going to be adding a course on the iPad and the Mac later on. So if you just want to purchase a course, it's not a subscription, it's not a membership, you just purchase the course outright and then you have that course. And then you can watch any video at any time that you want. That's over at Dan's Online Courses. So if you like my videos, those are two ways that you can help support me. Check out danstutorials.com or check out dansonlinecourses.com. And then the last thing I want to mention is thanks for watching.